take projection.
Welcome, everybody, to a surprise edition of Taking on Sports. I'm TD, that is Greg, and we are stunned at today's huge, earth-shattering news. Nick Saban is calling it quits, retiring at the age of 72, the day that Alabama fans have long been dreading. Greg, tell me where you were when you got the news and what your reaction was.
Well, I was at work. I was actually on a phone call talking to one of the people I've booked one of our loads with, talking about something, and all of a sudden I heard nothing in the call. I'm just looking at my phone. I don't know how. What? Just completely thrown off my game, and had to call him back because I was like, "What in the world just happened?" How about you?
Yeah, I was in the kitchen talking to my wife and got the ESPN notification on my phone, and I just kind of it said, "Holy shit, holy shit!" And she had to be like, "What?" And make sure I told her before, thinking that somebody had died or something. But it is truly
Wow.
the end of an era, and not just Alabama
Yeah.
football, but college football, the
College
sport of
football.
football.
Man.
Um,
Just an
I
epic
think.
run. I
hmm
mean, just
yeah, it is not hyperbole to say that he probably leaves the game as not even probably, but leaves the game as the greatest college football coach of all time.
yeah. I don't think
What
anybody
he,
can. Yeah, I don't think anybody can argue that at all at this point. Whether
mm-mm.
you love him, hate him, I mean, facts are facts. I mean, just what he's done has been amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely just insane. Out of left field for Bama fans, I think everyone kind of felt that he was probably had a good couple few years in him at least,
Right.
maybe not to the end of the decade, but at least 2 or 3 more
Hmm.
seasons.
Right.
Um, but just to run some numbers down here, uh, I had him pulled up here. Where is it gone now? Um, his numbers: 297 career wins. The NCAA record books will say 292 because of the whole textbook thing in his first year at Tuscaloosa, but we all know
We
that
all
those
know.
numbers are horseshit. Yeah.
Right.
297. That's another reason it's surprising. You think maybe he stays to get 300 or even maybe go after
Right.
Bobby Bowden, but uh,
Yeah.
uh, he's also that kind of guy that kind of shows you that it's not about his stats or he really did
Hmm.
believe in the process. But here we go. Um, just at Alabama, 17 seasons, 206 wins, 29 losses. That is 88% win percentage.
That's
Of
amazing.
course, 6 national titles, 9 SEC titles. His last 16 teams, so outside of the first season, he all won at least 10 games, the lowest being
That's
11.
amazing.
Won 16 postseason games. That includes bowls and college football playoff games. Um, like I said, if you add up his stops at Toledo, Michigan State, and LSU, that's 297 career wins, a percentage of 81%.
Mm.
Add that 7th national title at LSU. Never had a losing season in college. Did have the one
Wow.
at the Dolphins. For 50 this year ended the streak of 15 straight years. Alabama was ranked number 1 in the AP poll at least once during the season.
Yeah.
49 first round draft picks during his tenure from Alabama. You can just go on and on the numbers. It's
Just amazing.
insane.
Yeah.
Um,
And,
uh,
and just, just how, I mean, you just have to sit back and appreciate it because, I mean, it's just stuff you'll never see again. I
mhm.
mean, you gotta think what we've seen in the last, 20 years between what we saw with Alabama, of course, what we saw, with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and the Patriots. I mean, two things we'll never see again, probably in our
Mhm.
lifetime, which is how dominant, and it's just crazy. And we've seen it run consecutively for a lot of it. It's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. What we've been able to see, and we live in the moment, so I don't know if we always just sit back and just appreciate it because I mean, especially as Alabama fans, I mean, we're spoiled, but man, but it's just been such an amazing run, and you know, the next guy, no matter who it is, I mean, such big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. Like, do that's that probably my biggest concern is not so much who it is, but who wants to actually be the next guy. Because I
Mm-hmm.
mean, the expectations are so high, and rarely does the next guy at a major, after just a legend, ever quite is that guy. You
Mm-hmm.
through a few coaches, some downtime. I mean, a little different than today's world in college football with the NIL and all that, and transfer portal. But
Mm-hmm.
just in sports in general, you rarely see uh, the next guy have near the success of the legend beforehand. So it'll be
Yeah.
interesting. But
Yeah, you never want to be the guy after the guy. So
right,
yeah, whoever's coming in, they're coming in a tough spot.
yeah,
And it's beyond the accolades on the field too. It's you. I never really see an ex player, with a bad
yeah,
word to say about Saban. You glowing
no,
endorsements from his ex guys, even if the stories are about him being a hard ass on him. I think Greg McElroy had
right,
one today where he had a funny little quip. It was about him throwing an interception, and
hmm
Saban, walked over to him and basically said, hell, I could throw the ball better than that, and I'm 30 years older than you. And but also ends it with like kind of a pat on the ass and like, all right, hey, we'll get him next time. He coaches his
right,
guys up.
exactly,
He does.
yeah.
Him and his wife, Miss Terry, who will be just as missed within the program and the
Oh yeah,
community.
she's
Uh
great.
huh. Yeah, they've
I mean,
done so
honestly,
much for Tuscaloosa.
I mean, she's a big reason why Nick even came to Alabama. I mean,
And
because she because Nick, from the stories, was gonna stay in Miami, and then she's like, basically telling Mal Moore, no, and she's like, well, he's already at the house. I'm already giving him
hmm
snacks.
yeah, Miss Terry. Yeah, we have her to thank, and we have Rito Rodriguez to thank for hating Tuscaloosa.
Two
And
beautiful women,
yeah,
but
yeah,
really,
right. For completely different reasons, they should both have
exactly.
holidays in the
Oh, for
city
sure.
of Tuscaloosa and the state of Alabama. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Um, Yeah, and it's interesting to see where he goes from here. He's anytime he's made appearances on broadcast, he's been amazing. So
Yeah, he's amazing on, yeah, anytime he's gone on the
uh,
halftime show when we're not in the playoff and stuff, great insight. Well, does well with TV. He's a hell of a businessman, with all his endorsement deals and his Mercedes-Benz stuff. So, I mean, obviously has a business mind. He could do anything. I mean, he could.
hmm yeah,
And
he good to him.
he'll definitely do something because he doesn't seem like the guy that just sits back and chills.
No, for
you
sure.
know,
Yeah, he
in 2 weeks he's probably gonna be like, "What did I do?"
yeah, where have I gone wrong? Of
Yeah,
course, there's a story from this summer. They bought a house in, I think, Jupiter or somewhere in Florida next to
yeah,
like Tiger
beautiful house.
Woods and some other
Yeah,
golfer. Yeah, I'm sure they'll go down there and yeah, he's definitely a guy that might get bored in retirement.
yeah, because
Uh, could see him
I
hanging around the
mean,
program for a while in some capacity.
right, because I mean, you got to think about it. I mean, when you're a coach like Nick Saban, coaching is what you know.
Hmm
That's what you
I mean,
live for. I mean, that's your day in and out. I mean, this
50
is a
years in it.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is a man who, outside of maybe going on a one summer vacation, I mean, he lives college football. I mean, this is what he does, what he knows. So, I mean, he's going to be lost, I think, in
Mm-hmm.
some aspect, just because he has, doesn't have to get up and look at anything, doesn't have to call any recruits, doesn't have to watch video, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to do anything. And I think he's going to be like, what in the world? I mean, you can only go on so many trips or uh, whatever else retired folks do. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. But,
Yeah, we'll
just,
see. Yeah,
but I mean,
no
it's
use
just,
speculating on
right.
why now. He'll tell us when he's ready.
Yeah.
I
But
imagine it'll be some type of press conference tomorrow, sometime this week.
yeah, I mean, he
Um,
gave a little statement tonight, as I
hmm
saw, but nothing too. But
Yeah.
he seems like the guy that kind of he's always done his own thing, and he's knows knew it was time. Well, we may not understand and know why, but obviously he knew why. You
hmm
step away, like we said, it's better to step away at the top of the game still rather than have those years where you kind of fall off a little bit and then step away. So hey, went on his own time and still, at the top of the game. We went out, as the SEC champion,
hmm
playoff team within inches of, so close to being in another national title game.
Yeah, a fourth
After,
down stop
yeah,
away from beat Michigan and being in the title game, and who
right.
knows from
Who
there? Maybe he
knows?
goes out with
Right.
a seventh and
That
eighth
title.
title.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's. Uh, um, I'm trying to think here. Do we move on to let's say think back? Let's before we get on to possible replacements. Think back
Hmm.
to when we first hired him. What did you obviously no one could have saw this coming. You
Hmm.
can't predict the greatest run in the history of the sport.
Mm-mm.
Um, what
Nothing
were
like
your
that.
expectations when he hired? What did you think would happen when we hired him back in 2007?
I was just happy that we had a coach that I felt confident would at least make us relevant, a relevant program year in and year out.
hmm
At least be back in contention for the West, at least SEC title contention at times. We had, basically become uh, a mid program where we were
hmm
average,
Very.
to the fact that, I mean, losing coaches at Texas A&M.
hmm
That's just how we had fallen. That before, we never would have thought that anybody would ever think that leaving Tuscaloosa for a
hmm
job, for another coaching job was a better option.
Yeah, especially and then back in 2003, Texas A&M was completely different than now. They weren't pouring
Hmm.
the money into it that they do
Mm-mm.
now. They still
No,
had it there and they were a solid
they were
program, but they weren't.
okay.
They'd
Yeah,
won a
nothing.
couple Big 12 titles in the
Hmm.
recent times, but yeah, they weren't competing on the national level. They didn't have
No,
a national name that Alabama, even like you said, even in down years, still had. Alabama was still Alabama. And we
right,
saw them personally lose to Northern Illinois.
right.
Saw them go 4-9. They lost to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's on my mind because actually my little Facebook memories from the other day actually linked to a little blog post of mine from way back about his hiring, and my whole tone was I was cautiously optimistic. Of course, I knew he was a
Yeah,
great coach. What he did at LSU,
yeah.
but I was worried that we would be a stepping stone again. Maybe we were scarred from
Hmm.
Franchione and all that. That he'd be there 3-4 years maybe, and then Texas would come calling or Notre
Yeah,
Dame or the NFL again. I thought for
right.
sure especially if he had early success, and maybe even thinking that
Hmm.
after '08 when we made the title game, the SEC title game, lost to Florida, and then
Hmm.
no showed the Sugar Bowl. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a little fear that, like, oh no, like if the NFL comes calling, he'll want to try that again because he's
Right.
that kind of man. But
He's right.
um, the next year, we won our first title since '92, and the
Hmm.
rest is history,
History.
obviously.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's crazy to think back on that. Everybody for sure that we had Rich Rod,
Yeah.
um, Jim Grobe was a candidate, Paul Johnson, all these
Jeez.
names. The list of names it could have been the
Yeah.
alternate
That
universe
is,
where if the Miami team
my
doctors
goodness.
had actually okayed Drew Brees' shoulders like Saban
It's like
wanted him to.
Culpepper.
Hmm.
Yeah. Amazing. It's amazing how
Uh,
things work out as they do.
yeah, there's an alternate
For
universe somewhere where that happened, and it's probably a scary sight to see.
yeah, for all involved. Because who knows?
Uh,
Who knows where
yeah.
we'd be? Who knows where Nick would be? Hell, where would Drew Brees be? I mean, so many
Hmm.
questions.
Where would Mike Shula be? I remember
Yeah.
making another post when we fired Shula that I was mad at Mal Moore because, and I still believe this to the day, that Mike Shula had a raw deal. He came in
Hmm.
obviously after spring practice, so the first year was just a disaster. We
Oh yeah.
had we had I believe the heaviest NCAA sanctions since the SMU death penalty at the
Oh
time.
yeah.
Um,
Remember we had that national conspiracy against Alabama.
yeah, exactly.
NCAA.
Yeah. um, his last season, I want to say that his roster, if I remember it right, was something like 58%. It was over half
Hmm.
just freshmen and sophomores. He
Yeah.
had young guys. And so I always thought that, he never got a fair shake. But obviously, it turned out far better than we could ever imagine with Nick
Yeah.
Saban at the helm.
Exactly.
As we've said many times this year when talking about Georgia's dynasty being compared, you can't compare. There's nothing that you can
There's
compare
nothing. Yeah. Nothing
this
compared at all.
to.
Just.
Even
I mean,
Oklahoma's
you're
all-time winning streak of 48
right.
games in a row. I think they only won one or
Hmm.
two titles during that.
Exactly.
But now we look to the future, and we hope that the plan is already in place and that we already have a successor, and we're just waiting to
No.
get him in
Right.
town.
Finalized. But yeah, I mean that was all. That's my biggest fear
Mhm,
is who knew was this
mhm,
well kept secret and it was been planned for a while and it just came public because it was the season's over or
mhm.
was this out of nowhere? And there's of course rumors I've seen and who knows that. Before the announcement that no coach on the staff knew, but then at the same
Mhm.
time, I mean, then maybe that's all to the good because the info gets out too fast.
Yeah, it could hurt recruiting. I mean, we've already
Yeah,
seen top recruit receiver, what's his name, Ryan Williams out of Saraland.
Ryan Williams
The
already.
five star is already decommitted. Has said that Alabama's still in the running, but
Right,
that's
but that's
obviously
just
heavily dependent on who we get. If we
right.
get a
Exactly.
defensive guy, maybe he's gone. If we get someone like
Yeah,
Lane Kiffin, maybe he's like, all right, never mind, I'm staying in Tuscaloosa.
exactly.
Um,
And
who
then
would you like to see? Who? Oh wait, no, go ahead. You have a thought?
no, no. What I was saying too is the reason why. Now I've also heard that they told our players give it 72 hours before you make any rash decisions because the portal opens up and everything,
Hmm.
which makes me think that maybe they have somebody ready to
Yeah.
go for what that's worth. And I think we have a very, our athletic director seems like a very smart guy who's not going to
Hmm.
just be left assed out like he would. He's not going to just, oh my gosh, so. I feel
Yeah.
like it will
No.
be fine. Greg Burns seems to be a very smart guy who's not going to just be, left with high and dry with nothing planned. But
No, for sure. I mean, and he's a guy that can keep secrets as well too. He
hmm
kept the Nate Oates hiring a really well kept secret when
yeah,
that happened.
yeah.
So yeah, but
But
who
he's
going on what
also a man who moves fast too.
he does? Yeah,
After Avery, I mean, Nate was couple of days. Same with the gymnastics. Um, they move fast with that hiring. So baseball hiring. Most recent. So I mean, he moves fast with his things. And today's college football, you can't drag it out.
Mm-hmm.
Just with recruiting and everything, the portal, like you got to keep your team intact, and you have to have somebody that people like. That's gonna, but I would personally, I've always liked Lane. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I mean that's always been the guy that I always hope would be the next guy. But I don't know. Just his personality, I don't know if it necessarily matches with some of the older, people. Kind of the seriousness that, kind of associated with Alabama. His Twitter and, all the stuff he does. I don't know if they would consider it or if he even wants to come.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be that'd be my top guy as long as he doesn't bring a DC with him.
Yeah, no. Pete can stay in Oxford or
Yeah,
make
go
him the
be the
head
coach
coach.
and yeah,
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Kiffin is probably my top choice because of what we talked about earlier. You never want to be the guy after the guy, but Kiffin seems almost like he's been kind of angling to be that guy since he left
yeah.
Alabama. Um, I'm sure he
He's
enjoys
always mentioned
Oxford.
in Alabama.
He
I
does. He
mean,
talks. His adoration and um, like for Saban is, he does not hide that at all. He talks so
yeah,
highly of him all the time. He says roll tide during interviews, as a
yeah,
coach of, one of our conference rivals.
yeah,
He he would absolutely bring the offense, keep the offense humming,
yeah.
bring those top recruit guys.
Oh yeah.
You would hope that, yeah, he would hire a top notch defensive coordinator and guys that can recruit
Hmm.
defenders. And
Yeah,
you're right, though. Like the question with Kiffin is not desire if he wants to be here. I think he wants to be here.
yeah.
We can outbid Ole Miss. The
Oh yeah.
money's not an
That's not a
issue.
problem. It's just that if
Um,
that's who they want and this you
yeah,
want to
it's
come
the
right now and
it's the old money boosters. Can they live with Lane Kiffin and his
yeah.
personality? And then there's guys like Dan Lanning from Oregon. He's a big name I've seen
Hmm.
out there. I think he'd
Yeah.
be a great fit too. A
Yeah.
tough nosed defensive
I mean,
coach.
started out in Tuscaloosa. He's been in Tuscaloosa before, and
Yeah,
of
a grad
course, Nick
assistant. Yeah.
always says that he was at Alabama, then he went to Memphis, and Nick always said, I wish I reached out sooner because Kirby swooped him before I could get to him
Mm-hmm.
when he brought him to Georgia. So, I mean, obviously Nick thinks he's a great coach. I mean, he wanted to bring him in as the defensive coordinator. So, and he's done a heck of a job at making Oregon more than a flashy offense.
Mm-hmm.
He made them a physical team, and I mean, he made Bo Nix almost a Heisman Heisman winner. If a few different things go differently, who
Mm-hmm.
knows? But
Yeah,
so
exactly.
in 2 years, I mean, he's made Oregon great. I mean,
Yeah. There's of course Steve Sarkeesian's name's thrown out. I would
mhm.
love to have him, but I don't think he leaves Texas at this point
No,
because they have the money. We're not gonna. That's like one school that we can't outbid. You're not outbidding
yeah,
Texas.
not outbidding
Um.
Texas, and I mean, he seems to. I
Mhm.
don't know. I mean, they like him there.
Mhm.
He just went. He's the first coach since Mac Brown to bring Texas back.
Mhm.
So I think he'd be crazy to leave right now. I mean, he's in because now he's in the SEC now.
Mhm.
Um, he's in Texas. So, I mean, he has
Mhm.
all that recruiting right there. That he don't have to leave the state. I mean, I don't think I would leave necessarily.
No. And then another thing with him too is you come to Tuscaloosa, you have to be the guy after Nick Saban. You know,
Yeah.
until you bring a national championship, that's who you are.
Yep.
In Texas right now, even though the expectations are still high, they're
He's still the guy. I mean,
he's the guy there, and he's the guy that can resurrect that program. If he wins a
yeah,
national title at Alabama, it's expected. It's what you're supposed to do. If he wins
yeah.
one at Texas now, he is
That's
the
a
guy that resurrected the program. He is the savior of
man.
Texas football.
Exactly. It's a
Um,
whole different story.
yeah,
Because
he gets a statue. Yeah,
yeah,
that's um, so
because I've
yeah.
always said Texas is one of the richest, but yet most overrated football programs ever.
Hmm.
'Cause you got to think all the in-state talent, all of everything, and in our lifetime, we've seen them in two national title games,
Hmm.
'05
Um,
and '09. I mean, that's crazy to think about.
yeah, it's insane. Yeah, for a team, a program of those resources.
Yeah.
Um, One interesting name I've seen thrown out is Mike Norville, Florida State's head coach.
Mm.
I think most of the fan base, yeah, I would have that reaction
Like,
exactly. It would be kind of a disappointment. I will say though,
yeah.
from a comedic standpoint, that would be insanely hilarious. To after we
Florida State fans
quote
would lose their
unquote took
mind
their spot in the playoff, we also
and
took
took
their
their
head coach.
coach. Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Would be hilarious. I
I
don't
do
think
not
that's
think that. Yeah,
I don't
Kalen
see that.
DeBoer, Washington head coach, has been thrown out. I'm not sure he's quite ready for this stage yet. Um, he would be a good
Yeah.
backup plan, I think.
All right.
But at this point, we don't want the backup plan. That's not
Yeah. No, we
where
want
we're at.
the first.
Mhm,
You want the first guy.
mhm. Yeah.
Um.
One name I absolutely do not want is Dabo Sweeney.
No,
I'm
not at
team
all.
never Dabo. Uh,
Mm. I don't
I
even think I was interested in him even when he had Clemson rolling. I know he's Alabama alum and everything. I don't like his personality. That oh
mm-mm.
shucks. I hate that.
Yeah.
Like it's so annoying.
Yeah, you can't run the little old Alabama game. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
And personality problems too with maybe his
Getting
uh
into it with fans and stuff.
social beliefs. Yeah, getting into
Yeah,
fans on call-in shows, and
yeah.
he has just not accepted the transfer portal or NIL. He is not
No, you have to adjust
adapting
to
to the
what's
modern
worked.
game. Yeah.
Exactly. You have to
Um,
always evolve, and he's fighting that as much as he possibly can, and
mhm,
it hasn't been the same for a while at Clemson. Still, good coach.
mhm.
Still decent seasons, but yeah, I've never been a fan of bringing him in. But
No, never. Me neither. And then from a coaching standpoint too, you do have to wonder. So it's been 6 years now since he won a title, and
hmm
his two titles, even though they were at the expense of Nick Saban in Alabama, they came with generational talents at quarterback.
yeah,
I mean, Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence in college were
yeah,
absolutely game changers, top tier guys that you don't,
hmm
it's lucky to get one of those in your lifetime. To get two of them back
yeah,
to back,
yeah, pretty much
um,
back to back with the
yeah,
what's the name in
Kelly
between.
Kelly Bryant in between, yeah.
Yeah, Kelly Bryant in between.
It's insane. And to see what he's done since then, Clemson has had, I mean, by their standards that he created, bad seasons since then. They
Yeah,
did make it back to the playoff in 19, but lost
they've
to
been to
that,
playoff.
that
Yeah,
dominating LSU team.
and they've
They
been back in 20. Lost
lost to
Ohio
Ohio
State,
State. And
and
then,
we drug.
yeah. And then since then, though, I think they did win the ACC title in 21, right? But
Yeah.
he's just, I mean, this season, just look at this season, those losses that they had, they weren't just upset
No.
losses and kind of freak things. They were schematic
Mm,
problems. They were
yeah.
personnel problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, from an on the field standpoint, I don't want Dabo. I
I
think
don't want that,
he
bro.
could be close to retiring himself if he's
Yeah.
not doesn't adjust quickly.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so like I said, I think we'll see that very near future. Um, we'll have a press conference this week.
Yeah.
Um, So
And
I
I
think.
would, yeah, I mean, I expect it to probably be pretty fast, just because, like I said, we're in that
Mhm,
era where you have to be fast. You can't just wait all off season. Of course, we have the other signing day in
mhm,
February, and of course, the portal opens up anytime a coach retires or gets fired, or et cetera.
mhm,
So, all that, and just how much fallout does that bring? Of course, everybody and their mother's gonna come into Tuscaloosa to try to pull folks
mhm.
out.
Oh yeah, already those coaches are blowing up our players' phones, our
Oh yeah.
recruits' phones. Yeah.
Hey, hey, hey. And
Yeah.
then yeah. So it'll be interesting. But yeah,
Mhm,
we just have to get the right guy that people feel confident can, keep things
mhm,
afloat as best as possible. And who is that guy? If it's Dan Lanning, if it is Lane, those are, I think would be great things. It's just a matter of then also, the other interesting things is, who do they bring in as their, who's the offensive coordinator, who becomes the defensive
mhm.
coordinator. Funny thing, I just wrote a article last night about how important it was that Nick Saban picked the right defensive coordinator. Little did I know we had much bigger things coming up.
That's true.
Whether it be T. Rob or if they're looking outside the program. And then what do we do with coaches that are there? Is the next guy? Do they keep T. Rob? I mean, I obviously I don't think Tommy Reese has kept his offensive coordinator.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody keeps him there. Now he's probably kicking himself, wondering why he didn't go to LSU with
Brian Kelly.
Brian
Well,
Kelly
and
because
then there's, beyond us, there's the, the domino effect this creates.
yeah,
We've been talking all along about waiting for that Jim Harbaugh domino to drop. Does he want to
yeah,
stay now that he's won a title, or uh, does he bolt for the NFL because he really wants a Super Bowl?
hmm,
There were, and then there are rumors that Brian Kelly would leave LSU to go to Michigan.
yeah,
There's now rumors that Kirby Smart might leave bolt for the NFL because of all the openings.
hmm.
Which that would absolutely be insane if Harbaugh, Saban, and
Wow,
Kirby
Kirby
Smart are
all left
gone.
in the same year. Jeez,
That's the last. That's a head coach of the
the
last
last three
four.
national champion. Yeah,
Last
but the
four
last three
national
teams that
champions.
have won, the
Yeah,
last three teams that have won the title,
yeah. That's yeah,
and
absolutely insane.
basically the
Um,
face of college football as far as
uh
most
huh.
successful coaches.
Yeah.
As late, wow, just wild.
So yeah, it's just
Who
it
knows?
is literally, people say it's earth shattering news. People use a lot of hyperbole, but this is literally
This definitely was.
uh, shocking, shakes the foundation of college football. And you mentioned it
Yeah,
earlier. Now it's time for Alabama fans to chill out, have perspective,
yeah,
um, enjoy what we just witnessed, the greatest run in
yeah.
college football history, and lower
Mm-hmm.
those expectations going forward because it's not going
Yeah,
to be the
just a little
same.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
we should never be a team, that I don't think the fall off will be great, but I
Hmm.
think it, just be enough because, of course, um, as we know, I mean, Alabama had many years of great runs before Nick Saban. And there'll
Hmm.
be great runs after Nick Saban just because
Hmm.
Alabama's a perennial powerhouse in football.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, just be a little different there. I mean, and I don't know, just with how also just with how coaches move around. Honestly, it's amazing to have a coach stay at the same spot these days for a 15-year period.
Hmm.
You don't see it that much, whether it be to retire or move on to the pro game. Obviously Nick had already done that, but
Hmm.
and then do you come back or who knows? So, but
Yep. It will be interesting going forward. That is for sure. Hopefully, when we come back to you Monday. When we record Sunday, we already know who the coach is, and we can
Hmm.
talk about that and
Talk
move on
about
to the
that.
next era. Yep.
Exactly.
Any other words?
Just crazy. It's been a crazy 2024 so far.
Indeed, it has. Yeah.
Man.
Um, yeah. So yeah, another huge day. I guess we should mention too, real quick. Sucks to be Pete Carroll, who announced he was stepping down as Seahawks coach this
Yeah.
morning.
I thought that
Yeah,
was the
yeah,
biggest thing we were seeing today.
yeah. Didn't even get
Kind of
12 hours in the spotlight.
not at all.
Before an even bigger bomb dropped. But
Right.
all right, folks, this has been our little surprise, emergency, whatever you want to call it, pod. Greg, roll tide, buddy.
Roll Tide. See you Sunday.
Hmm